Hello, my name is Eric Rozier, and today I'll be doing a Google Slides presentation on Google versus Apple. The purpose of this presentation is to conduct a strategic analysis on Apple and Google using both background information, secondary research, and Brandwatch so I can show you the datas and everything I've collected. To start off with, the current trend with most tech companies is that they're trying to innovate with AI because it's now just the new thing that everyone's focusing on. There is an increased demand for it, and a lot of people really want it. Some say it's a bit of a bubble going on, but this is what like these companies are focusing on. Google so far is more primarily advanced than Apple because Google has Gemini and Google has a lot of data to choose from, while Apple mostly just has Siri. Apple dominates though in premium hardware with a strong ecosystem lock-in and trusted privacy, but it's criticized for its restrictive practices and high prices. And like I said, Google leads in AI search and data-driven services and has a massive global reach, but consistently hits is hit with privacy skepticism and regulatory battles. And there are, of course, challenges when it comes to these two companies. There is constant antitrust investigations. There is many app store fees. It's also just very expensive for the consumer. The consumer's demand for stricter data protections. And as I said earlier, Apple is criticized for its ecosystem, and Google is criticized for its data harvesting. And there's a rising expectation for transparency and AI models. There's also been a severe lack of innovation. Apple, for the past couple of years, has been pushing out essentially the same product over and over again with very few updates. Truly, it's basically the same phone, but just slightly better. And it's also, constantly rising in the cost of it. So it's hard for even the consumer to really keep up, especially in this economy. There's been an extreme pressure to deploy new AI tools without screwing up ethical and or technically, and there's a risk of model bias, misinformation, hallucinations, and regulatory backlash. Competitors launching faster and sloppier, which raises expectations for Apple and Google, and their skepticism towards data collection. So here's the overall brand overview. Apple was founded in April 1st, 1976 by Steve Jobs. It's located in Apple Park in Cupertino, California, USA. It's known for its premium consumer electronics and tightly integrated ecosystem, iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, all of that. The brand philosophy is to deliver exceptional user experiences through innovative hardware, software, and services. The values include simplicity, design, excellence, privacy, and quality. And the design and product culture is intuition driven, minimalist design focused on seamless integration and a controlled ecosystem. Meanwhile, Google was founded in September 4, 1998 in Menlo Park, California by Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Its HQ is Googleplex Mountain View, California, USA, and it's known for its dominant search engine and internet services, Android OS, cloud, and AI tools, productivity platforms, hardware, Pixnest, and AI innovation. Its brand philosophy is organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And its emphasis on accessible technology and data driven innovation. It is responsible for the AI and broad societal impact. Its design and product culture is data driven, flexible, broad product experimentation, and its material design creates unified experience across platforms. The industry position for Apple holds down the top position in the premium consumer tech market and dominates smartphones, wearables, and high-end computing. But Google sits at the center of the global digital infrastructure sector, leading in the search engine, online advertising, and cloud services, and of course, AI. Google also has Android, which powers most of the world's smartphone users. Well, Apple, of course, just has the iPhone and has like its own ecosystem, as stated before, with the App Store, Apple this, Apple that. Apple's hardware services integration keeps revenue stable, even as device renovation slows, which basically means it could drop the same phone over and over again, and people will constantly buy it. So it's just a constant flow of resource. But of course, Google is having a large dominance in the AI sector with its Gemini and its machine learning. It has a lot of data to choose from. So, of course, Google would make a very high tech AI. And as I stated earlier, Apple just has Siri. But yeah, Apple faces criticisms for its restrictive ecosystem and its high prices and regulatory pressure over the App Store. And Google's hardware's presence is growing, but is still secondary to its software and services. Overall, Google is the industry's core engine of information and AI innovation, even while battling regulatory and trust challenges. And for Apple, despite the challenges it faces, it remains the industry's benchmark for product design, brand loyalty, and the user experience. Here are the consumer attitudes towards both of them. I'll start off with Apple. There's a very strong loyalty with Apple because people just really like it. They really trust it. It's a primary phone for a lot of people. It's of course offers privacy for its users, and the product is seen as premium, polished, and very easy to use. And the reputation is for a strong customer service and long device man. But the negative sentiment is that it's, of course, overpriced, closed off ecosystem, a lack of customization, a frustration with incremental updates and slow innovation, and the App Store policies are viewed as restrictive and greedy. Now, for Google, there's a positive sentiment too. It's widely appreciated for accessibility, openness, and broad platform support, and it's praised for AI capabilities, search accuracy, and productivity tools. Its Android is admired for its flexibility and customization, and Pixel devices are respected for camera quality and clean software. But the negative sentiment is the major skepticism about data collection and privacy practices, complaints about inconsistent Android device qualities across brands, occasional frustration with buggy updates or feature instability, and concerns about ads, tracking, and algorithmic influence. So yeah, we can see here that it's actually surprisingly neutral, more for Google than it is for Apple by like around 12%. But there is more joy for Apple than there is for Google. Google is honestly primarily negative. They're both very similar with how they are presented with the consumer attitude. There's a little more discussed with Google, and then there's a lot more joy when it comes to Apple. So I think this shows that a lot more people do appreciate their Apples compared to Google. Google is just not something that people seem to really take joy in. Very neutral. Yeah, the consumer attitude though, for like how they personally feel about it. Yeah, as stated earlier, Apple is ever so slightly more positive than Google. Uh, yeah, Google has a 61% negative rating on it, while Apple only has a 53%. So it's very interesting how people perceive these two companies. Now it's time for the stakeholder and reputation. Apple is seen as a premium, design driven, innovation centric brand with a strong global trust. It is widely respected for privacy protections and ecosystem stability, and is often viewed as a trendsetter in hardware and user experience, which of course makes sense because the iPhone came first and then every other phone after essentially copied that touchscreen. So it's very innovative. The customers offer extreme loyalty. Developers have mixed appreciation revenue potential, but they resent the App Store's restriction. The government slash regulators are in constant friction over antitrust, App Store policies, and right to repair. And investors are highly confident in long term growth due to services and ecosystem lock in. Employees' reputation for highly standard secrecy culture, admired but demanding. Google, on the other hand, is viewed as the world's information and AI powerhouse, praised for accessibility, innovation, and technological reach, but is criticized heavily for its privacy issues, data tracking, and ad dominance. Public perception swings between admiration for innovation and suspicion over influence. Customers value Google's convenience and tools, but distrust the data practices. Developers generally are positive towards Google's open ecosystem, strong API, strong support for experimentation. The government and regulators, Google's under intense constant scrutiny for antitrust privacy and AI ethics. Investors have long-term dominance due to AI and cloud through regulatory risk is a concern. Employees is known for their high autonomy and engineering culture, but morale hit by layoffs and restructuring. For Apple, the main things that are searched are the Apple 17, the iPhone 17, the iPhone Air. Trending topics were Apple, Amazon, and people looked up, of course, the iPhone 17 again, Apple Music. Then for Google, people looked up Gemini, DeepSeek. I assume people were just looking up competitors to Gemini. There was crypto. People were always talking about crypto. They Googled Google. They did a hashtag for Google, and the keywords were offshore workers and entry level jobs. Okay, so there was a lot of people looking up for December 4th for Apple, and that's because it was announced that day that Red Dead Redemption would be able to be played on the App Store. But most people tend to not really look up Apple that much compared to Google. Google gets a lot more like views on a daily basis. Apple barely hit the 400K, while Google on a daily basis is hitting 430K, but had a steep decline, which is still on average for Apple's usual. So Google gets a lot more search results. People were looking up Apple Music. They even looked up Google, and that's associated with Apple App Store, Apple Pie, Apple Cider, because Apple's called Apple. Apple TV, Cash App, Inbox DM. But Google is honestly a little more interesting. There's Google Max, there's Gemini, there's ChatGPT. In the corner over there is Israel, Donald Trump, Microsoft. So yeah, Google really is a jack of all trades when it comes to what people look up. All right, here's the strengths versus weaknesses, which I've been going over this whole time. Um, Google's strengths are its dominant search and AI ecosystem, has massive ad revenue and cloud services, its cross platform flexibility, and its data and analytics power, and affordability and device variety. Apple has brand loyalty and a premium image, hardware and ecosystem integration. They have a good privacy reputation and high profit margins on hardware, retail presence, and customer experience. All right. That is my presentation. To end it off, I said a lot of times already. I'll say it again. Google is dominating with its AI Gemini, while Apple is lagging behind, and Apple needs to innovate more. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I'm Eric Rozier, and I'm out.